In this fourth session, as you can see, I've started to pour out some small glasses of wine. I've got 12 of them here. Now, I'm honestly not trying to create some sort of meaning behind there being 12. I'm just using this as an example to begin to fill the cup up. Because what we've seen so far, I hope, is that the cup that those 12 disciples would have seen when Jesus lifted up the cup and said, "This cup is the new covenant in my blood," was a big cup. That they had been to something like 156 Friday night Shabbats. They'd been to at least one wedding, probably many more. And this was probably their third Passover. And it was very much a part of their way of life, was the Passover, was the Friday night, were the cups at the wedding. And sometimes I think we can come along to church and, take communion, and it's a moment. And sometimes it's more of a centerpiece and we'll take longer over it. But all that I'm trying to do is really to challenge us with this thought: how big is your cup? And where I'm going to start is, I'm just going to start with the first cup of the Passover. Now, I am not, and I'm not claiming to be in any way an expert in the way that the Jewish people celebrate Passover. That is not my goal. My goal is just to take some of the key elements and go, this is in there. And so the first one, I just wanted to go back to Exodus chapter 6, where God says he's remembered the covenant. And then there are 4 statements. And the Passover has a cup for each of the statements. And so in this first one, and this is where we're going to land and to pray today, is the first phrase: "I am the Lord, and I will bring you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians." And the first cup, as it were, is he's bringing you out. And I don't know where you are right now, but obviously at this moment in time, as I'm recording this, there is a burden that we are all under, uniquely a global burden. And the promise of God is that he will bring us out from burdens. He goes on to say this, and we read of it in Psalm 68:19. "Blessed be the Lord who daily bears our burden, the God who is our salvation." Now remember, that word salvation is, again, it's a bigger word in the context of the Old Testament, a bigger word in the culture. So what we see is that first cup is the cup of being brought out. His promise, his covenant is to bring us out from burdens. And of course, we have been set free by the blood of Jesus from the burden of sin, but so much more than that. And we read in Matthew 11, a very famous verse, verse 29, "Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you shall find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my load," or my burden in some translations, "is light." And we have a reference here to rest, which is actually also a reference to the promised land, because remember, the letter to the Hebrews says that Moses didn't enter into rest, which was something of a picture of the promised land. So the first cup that I want to reference in this session number 4 is this cup, which represents being brought out from the burden of slavery. And it is a picture, it's a picture of, to be honest, of consumerism. It's a picture of working too hard. It's a picture of nothing is enough. Those slaves, nothing was ever good enough, nothing was ever enough. They never gathered enough straw, never found enough clay, never baked enough bricks. It was this world of consumerism and work. And so when we look at the cup, I want us to remember that he's brought us out from the burdens of this world. He delivers us. He saves us from our burdens. And not only that, as it were, he carries the burdens that we have, those things that are of our normal life. And so this first cup that I want to pour in here, it's the first cup, and it is that he wants us to give him our burdens. "Take my yoke upon you, for my burden is light." And what a great promise that is. And I don't know what your circumstance exactly is today, but I believe that as you look at the cup, you can believe and trust that he has delivered us. But not only that, this is the beginning of being set apart. It's the beginning of our set apart journey. If you remember the story of Joshua, Joshua called the people together and said, sanctify yourselves, make yourselves holy, be set apart and see what great wonders the Lord will do among you. When we're under the burden, it is so much harder for us to begin to visualize the great things that he is going to do. And I believe in this season, that is his promise to us, that he is going to bring us out from this season of burden. He carries our burdens. He delivers us from our burdens. And as we are freed, we will be freed in our thinking and be able to see the great promises that he has for us. But if we are under the weight of the burden, we are not able to see that. He is bringing you out from under the burdens, whatever that means to you.